I'm Avalon, also known as Internship Girl on TikTok and Instagram, where I speak to a community of over 220,000 high school and college students from all over the world. And I'm so excited to be here because I'm incredibly passionate about supporting college students in discovering their passions and unlocking the next steps in their career path. As someone who's held over a dozen internships in my early career, I know how important it is to have access to this kind of information. So I'm super excited for you all to have the opportunity to hear from today's amazing panelists. So first we have Deana Welsch, who is a campus recruiting manager at RSM, focused on hiring interns and entry-level talent into RSM's consulting line of business. And Deana is based out of New York City and has been in the campus recruiting industry for over 10 years. We also have Danny Hullihan, who is a recruiter at Epic, which may be the biggest company you've never heard of. And this New Jersey native majored in English before joining the Wisconsin-based software company. And now I would love to turn it over to the panelists. Can you each tell us a little bit more about your company and the types of roles you recruit for? We'll go Deana and then Danny.
Great. Thanks so much, Avalon. So excited to be here. I too share a passion to helping recent college grads and college students figure out their career goals and their passions and their interests. So we have that in common there, and super excited to chat with you guys today. As mentioned, I'm Deana from RSM. If you haven't heard of RSM, it is a professional services company that focuses in three major lines of business: audit, tax, and consulting. Within the consulting realm, there's 7 different consulting lines of business there. So there's really a variety of opportunity within the RSM firm. We are a rather large company. We have about 85 offices between the US and Canada, over 16,000 employees. So no matter where you're based or what you're interested in, obviously there's a lot of different opportunities. So it's difficult for me to dive in and tell you really kind of what's open. So I strongly encourage everybody to check out our career site. If you're looking for an internship or even a full-time role to start this summer, I encourage you guys to take a look on the career site, and that'll give you a good inside look. Whether you're interested in the traditional accounting route in audit or tax, or maybe have a major that's anywhere in the business or technology space, I would encourage you to target and take a look at those consulting opportunities. They are filling up quick, right? As summer 23 is right around the corner. So if you are still looking for something, strongly encourage you to take a look at those and get an application in as soon as possible. And I'll pass it over to Danny.
Thanks, Deana. I'm Danny, as we already talked about here. I'm from New Jersey, as I said, and I work over here in Wisconsin at the biggest company that you've never heard of, as we say. But Epic is a healthcare software company that hires all majors. It's surprising to sometimes go into that subject, but we have 13,000 employees at the moment. Only about 3,000 are software developers. The rest of the 10,000 work on the software. Like Neo is hired not as a software developer, as someone who tests the software. Now I'm in recruiting. There are a lot of opportunities for implementing the software, testing the software, and maintaining the software over time that have nothing to do with code. And though we do have those opportunities for those smart new grads who do software develop, we look for everybody else too. So that's my gig.
I love it. The work that you both do is so important and a mission that I especially share. I think it's so important to get people early in the gate in their kind of college and early career to really understand what their passions are, what their skills are, and the opportunities that are out there for them in the world. So super excited to chat with you both today. So we're going to get into some serious myth busting now. And as expert recruiters, I would love to put you in the hot seat first to ask some questions about qualifications and just in general early career applications. So one of our most frequently asked questions from students is, how do you get experience if you don't have any experience? So what advice would you each give to students who are applying to their first jobs without any experience? What do you put on your resume? Danny, and then we'll go to Deana.
Sure. And of course, I'm not too far from college myself, so I remember this frustration going into some internships that sometimes wanted experience as well when I'm a sophomore, wanting to get my foot in the door there. And there's not really much trick to it. You just have to find the opportunities that are willing to help you develop while you're there. I'd love to say that Epic is one of those opportunities, but I'm sure we'll go into that a little bit later. As for what to put on your resume, you all go to college for a specific passion of yours, for a specific interest of yours, something that you're really good at and that you're really developed in. So brag about that as much as you can on your resume. There's no embellishment needed there. Anything that you do that you put all of your time into is something that employers that you probably want to work for are going to look at. So also put your extracurriculars, really anything that defines you. I'm not for putting anything that you might not enjoy on your resume. Put things that you care about that you can talk about in an interview with an employer.
I think the only thing I'd add, and well said, Danny, is don't discredit any job or experience that you do have, right? I've worked with plenty of students who were like, oh no, I was just a landscaper this summer helping my dad's company out. That absolutely has, believe it or not, transferable skills, right? There's a lot of hard work that goes in there. Maybe you were managing the inventory and the supplies and things like that. Same thing, maybe you're a cashier at a grocery store. Again, that's an opportunity and an experience that has a skill set that can very easily be transferable. So in addition to leveraging all the experiences and things that you're getting involved in on campus, like Danny mentioned, definitely don't discredit any part-time jobs, right? I've seen some really creative stuff, right? Babysitting, they're actually managing the schedule of a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. That's a lot of work, right? And being able to manage a schedule is definitely transferable and something that we would look for in a successful intern within RSM. So keep that in mind as well.
Love those answers. And I love what you both touched on, which is definitely don't discredit any of your experiences. As a student myself, I definitely come across my peers that have volunteered or are in clubs and they just won't have it on your resume. So definitely put all of that stuff on your resume, and just fantastic advice. Now, does your major really matter? So Deana, how much does an applicant's major matter to a recruiter? Does their field of study determine their options along their career path?
Short answer is yes, guys. And a little bit about me. I studied health science in undergrad, right? I thought I was going to go into the medical world, and kind of here I am managing a campus recruiting team, right? So that doesn't mean that you are siloed in what you are studying, but it does mean when applying for internships, we do look for folks that are studying and obtaining a certain educational foundation while in college. So for example, if I'm using RSM, we have an audit and a tax practice that will require an accounting background. So it will be very difficult for you to obtain an internship or even a full-time job, as an auditor or a tax professional without an accounting degree. If you're studying physics, it's probably not an interest of yours anyway, so it might be a non-issue. But depending on the types of roles, the major does matter. When you look at consulting, we have a lot more, a wider range that we can look at for majors. But again, a lot of our hiring managers, they do like to see certain business or technology majors knowing the type of work that you're going to be able to do. So with that said, if you chose a major, what I will say is if you chose a major and you're thinking like, oh man, I don't want to have a full-time career in this, start trying to do additional things without having to change your major and add an additional 4 or 5 years to your college career. We get it. You're trying to graduate and get a job. What I would suggest, if you don't want to work in the direct area that you went with your major, maybe picking up a minor or some extra classes or do a certification in the area that you do hope to get in, even if your major isn't really aligned with that. Anything to add, Danny?
Yeah, and then, I mean, my answer here might seem similar to my previous answer. I might color my answers later on down the line, but it's always good to brag about what you know and what you're experienced in. So your major is absolutely tantamount to that. You're you have a million other things to your name besides that thing that's going to be on your degree, but it does matter because you worked hard for it. And yeah, it will color your career choices down the line, perhaps. But I'm proud to represent a company that doesn't really care about excising these majors from their palette. I mean, any major can come work at Epic. I'm one of those examples. I would say that if you're a computer science major, a mathematics major who wants to be a software developer, that might silo you into software development, which is what you want to do. But there's not really any siloing at Epic in any other regard. And I believe that you can find a job for some company based on whatever major you can. Some of them might not be as less picky as Epic, but there's going to be some opportunity for all those majors. It shouldn't be a sticking point for anybody that they chose the wrong major 4 years ago. That's never going to be the case. You are going to find a career, whatever path that you find.
I love that. Thank you both so much. And I know that's a hot topic among students my age. So I really appreciate your really clear answer to that question. Now going into GPA, does GPA really matter in the professional world, and should applicants add it to their resume? Slash, is there ever a time where you shouldn't put your GPA on your resume? What do you think, Danny?
Well, that's an interesting question. I'll start with the end though. Is there ever a time that you shouldn't put your GPA on your resume? I can't really think of a time that you shouldn't. I mean, should you not be so proud of your GPA at some point? Well, I mean, you might have a few more years to change that, but I'd always include it. There's a lot to time in your applications, and there's time on the employer's part, which not many applicants honestly care about. And honestly, I kind of agree with that, but there's more time for you as the individual. If it's not going to work out up front because they saw it on your resume, that's more time for you to find that company that it's going to work out for. So I guess I'm all for putting it on your resume. In terms of it actually being important in the workforce, once you get that great internship and the great long-term job, I mean, we're never going to revisit it again, right? But it's certainly something that might not define you as a whole person, but it's something that employers are going to be looking at the onset usually. So it's best not to hide it all that much because it's going to come up. So I'd be all for putting it up at the forefront of any application that you have. It saves your time, really.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd be lying to say that we didn't look at it. We absolutely do. And I think anything above a 3.0, I'd be super proud of it, post it and share it. If you're falling below there, guys, my suggestion would be to try to work on that a little bit more, but then also, use some additional resources and tools to get your foot in the door if a firm is using GPA as a determinant for like a quick yes or no. We get hundreds and hundreds of applications, and sometimes we're only looking for 2 or 3 interns in a specific area. So, you want to do everything you can to put your best foot forward. And sometimes there's very valid reasons why a GPA might fall below. Maybe you start it with a major that is completely out of your realm, and you're like, wait a second, this isn't what I want to do. And now you're trying to pick it back up. So sometimes it really helps to show a overall major versus a GPA major. And then also, leveraging emails and cover letters if there's a reason that you want to explain why maybe your GPA has fallen behind, and then also use other experiences, opportunities, accomplishments to kind of show like, hey, I'm still a really good candidate, even though something over here might be a little lower than where I'd like it to be. So just a couple additional tidbits there.
Yeah, Deana, that leads me into my next question. Do you think that cover letters are worth the time?
So unpopular recruiter opinion, like, no, I don't read them, right? We look at the short piece, but I think that there are times, like I just mentioned, where they could be very, very valuable. And if a company or position that you're applying for requires it, then 1000% you should put the time, effort, and energy into it. We don't require it at RSM. But that means if somebody submits one, I definitely scan it and take a look. It means to me like they have something extra that they'd like to share and they'd like to say. Do you disagree, Danny? I know that's an unpopular recruiter opinion.
I do not. I'm so glad that RSM doesn't take cover letters because I hate cover letters. I hated writing them more than honestly I hate reading them, frankly. I sometimes get entertained by reading them now. There is a window into each candidate's life that you can somehow grasp from the cover letter that always pales in comparison to the actual interview. So it's a good thing. Honestly, Epic doesn't require them. We don't even have the space for you to put them on our application. So I'm usually surprised when it comes to my desk sometimes because I have no idea how the candidate managed to edge it into their application. But there's the general philosophy of cover letters is, yeah, to explain everything about yourself, sometimes to explain what you believe are shortcomings on your application. And I say, let's wait till the interview to even talk about that. Let's wait to get to know you a little bit through the application process first. We have several interviews in the Epic process, hopefully all of which aren't all that annoying, but we like to know that we get to know you by the end of the day without having to read that. So It's not unpopular in this room, Deanna. I'm sure that honestly most of our participants today hate writing them too. I was an
Yeah,
English major.
everybody's
That
probably
was
going, phew.
yeah.
Oh,
I will say though, final thought on it though, if you are gonna write one, make sure that it's like addressed to the right company. I feel like when I do see a cover letter, it has tons of errors in it, and I was like, you would have been better off not to send this.
Yeah, that is actually a really good point. But yeah, when those come up for me, I do think back to my own career, writing cover letters for internships and grad school and job applications and such like that. And of course, everyone sent the wrong cover letter to somebody at some point. So it's more entertaining to me, but I don't care. No one at our company does.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear this because I know I can speak on behalf of, I would say 99% of the college students who are part of the internship girl community who also don't like cover letters. But I really resonate with what you both said about just making sure that if you're going to send one, making sure that your grammar is correct, your spelling is correct, and you're addressing the cover letter to the right person. Obviously, these are things that should only take you 5 minutes of time to check or not even, but they can definitely make a big difference if someone is going to read your cover letter. So with that said, Danny, are there any common mistakes outside of maybe spelling mistakes or grammar mistakes in resumes that students should avoid?
Sure, I can go through my normal tidbits on this. If anyone, I don't think this was a thing when I was in college, but if you're using an automatic resume creator, really double, triple, quadruple check that and make sure that there's no generic thing that you forgot to take out that looks official because it's in the right font, but actually says internship insert here or something like that. So keep that. Make sure your dates line up. It's always a little awkward when you're even going off your own resume and somebody notices a hole in there. Holes are never the end of the world, especially if you're coming out of college. But if you ever are in the process and your own words that you submitted for yourself circumvent the truth by accident, basically all my tips here are going to be pretty much checking your work, but also it goes back to what I said earlier. Make sure there are things you care about. You don't want to have to talk about that project that you did for actually a month back in freshman year, but just sounds nice on a resume. You don't want to talk about that for 10 minutes when really you're going to be pulling at straws. You have done great things and great projects and great internships, or even, great jobs during the summer. Talk about those. There's more value in the things that you enjoy because that's really gotten to be where you are in your application today.
The only thing I'd add there is your graduation date. A lot of the time, your graduation date will let the recruiter know what opportunities you're eligible for with the firm. At RSM, unfortunately, we don't allow recent college graduates, do internships, right? So if you already graduated and you're applying for an internship, unfortunately, you're not eligible. If you only put the date that you started, August 2019 to present, I have no idea. Some people are in college for 6 years, some people are in college for 3 years. I don't know what your graduation date is. So I really have no idea if you're eligible for the opportunity that you're applying for. So my biggest pet peeve, a lot of times when I have so many resumes, if I don't even know when this person's graduating, I'm just going to go to the next resume that I have the complete answer for. So if you do not have your graduation date, and it's okay if it says anticipated or expected, and it's okay if that changes, right? But give us a ballpark of something that we're targeting so that we know what you're eligible for, that you are eligible for what you're applying for, and kind of where you are in your college career. If your resume doesn't have that on it right now, I strongly encourage you guys, open it up even while I'm talking and go ahead and add that graduation date because it's super, super, super important to any campus recruiter you're ever going to chat with.
Yeah, this is fantastic advice. And I'm so glad the students that are tuning in right now are hearing this. And one little thing that I'll add as a student who's gone through some of like my friends' resumes and some of my community's resumes, and maybe Deana and Danny, you can either tell me this doesn't matter, this does matter, but I've also heard through the grapevine that it's really helpful when you send in a resume to title the file with your name and the word resume rather than a file that just says XYZ12300 dash dash dash. That's something that I've heard and then I've definitely told my students, but I'm curious to hear from you if that's something that you pick up on or makes your life easier.
Makes a lot of sense. I would take that advice and put your name on it. It takes an extra 0.2 seconds for you. I would say that I've never really noticed that. We have a software called Avature that brings it to me pretty easy peasy. But I would say, I mean, there are some admin before me who get resumes, and I'm sure they have to match it up with the person. So add those 2 seconds and put Danny Hullihan 2022 on a resume. Why not?
Fantastic. All right. So before we go into our next segment, I'd love to touch just lightly on networking. So, Danny and Deana, is it worth it to do cold outreach by emailing people or sending LinkedIn messages? Do you have any tips on what to do or not do?
I can do this one first, Deana. I think really when you get down to this is whether or not you should do it. Should the recruiter be reading it? Reading it, I personally read all of them. Sometimes I don't respond to all of them, frankly, because they're either misinformed about what our opportunities are, or what it's just a little bit spammy or something. Or it's another recruiter trying to connect with you to get your network as well. Sometimes that happens, Deana knows. But in terms of tips, just be upfront about what you want. And if you are misinformed, that's okay. You'll just have to move on to the next one. But yeah, just know what you're actually talking about before you send a cold call to a recruiter. Their jobs are, even though it might seem so, is not to dispel information at the drop of a hat to anybody who gives out a communication to them. Their job might be to get you an opportunity in the future. They're usually the deciding factor.
Yeah. And so to build off that, what to do instead, right? Instead of reaching out to me, cold calling, go make some connections with other RSM folks throughout the business, right? Grab some of their time, learn about the firm that way. And then what ends up happening is the people that you meet within the firm, I'll get a message saying, hey, so and so just had a call with this potential candidate. You should check in with them, Deana. And that's a really great way for you to get front row and center with the campus recruiter who's got like 100 inbox messages, right? So I encourage you guys, it shouldn't be the cold calling and the cold messaging that scares you. It's just reaching out to the right people. And I say go for it, right? And eventually you're going to find somebody who's going to be able to offer up some time, get on the phone with you, learn a little bit more about what they do, what the firm they do, and then ask them, hey, can you make a personalized introduction to the campus recruiter for me? And I bet you that's going to go a lot better, and you'll have more success that way, as opposed to sending loads of LinkedIn messages and to a whole bunch of recruiters across the board. I will be very honest. My LinkedIn inbox, it's at about like 500. It's really, really, really tough for me to keep in touch with it. So I keep up with it. I mean, but so I really strongly encourage you to don't be scared of the cold calling and the cold messaging, but just do a little extra effort and some more research and find some professionals within the firm to maybe start with, and then have somebody at the firm make that personalized introduction to the recruiter.
This is such insightful insider info, and I hope that you all are taking notes. So now we're going to move into our next section about the interview process. So firstly, is it ever too early to ask about salary? What's an appropriate time in the process, and how should applicants bring it up? Danny and then Deana.
Sure. I mean, I would always wait until you're actually talking with somebody real. Emailing about it, you might get your information up front, but if you wanted to have a conversation on it, which is essentially how I mostly see people who email me about salary or LinkedIn message me about salary go, I'm not going to hold anything back, but it does take a lot to have that. There are a lot of intricacies that go with the salary on mainly, I would say, the employer's side. The employee side, they always have the potential employee. There's always a case, and there's something to be said about salary negotiation. You should wait till there's an actual vis-a-vis, face-to-face, before you do that. So I guess what I'm saying is put a little later in the process, maybe when you're actually in an interview or a phone interview or something like that. But it should be something that everyone's concerned about, the employer and the candidate. I'm not saying wait till the last second to do it. I'm saying wait till the appropriate time, so there's a discourse between you and the employer.
The only thing I'd add, and maybe some of you have heard of this, pay transparency is a hot topic right now. So there's a lot of companies. There are states, right? Started with the Colorados and Californias and Connecticut's. I don't know why they all start with C's, but the state requiring that companies put the salary ranges on job descriptions. So pay transparency is a hot topic right now, and I think is probably actually gonna, make this question maybe mute here in the next couple of years, because what a lot of companies are doing, RSM included, is since there's a number of states that are already requiring pay transparency, as a firm, we fully adopted it. And so this is for our interns as well as our entry level associates. We have salary ranges posted posted online. So with that information at your fingertips, as well as leveraging resources like Glassdoor and salary.com to educate yourself on a typical salary, there really shouldn't be too many surprises when the offer comes. The salary is probably going to be exactly in the range that at least at RSM that you had seen. And then at that point, once you actually have an offer in hand, that's when you can try to negotiate and have some further conversations about why you think your skill set and your value warrants a higher rate than what was offered. But look into pay transparency if you haven't heard of it. I think we're moving in the direction where we're going to see more and more companies fully adopting it.
Love that. And we're definitely going to chat a little bit more a little later about salary negotiation. So I'm excited to touch on that. So, Deana, how much research should applicants do in the organization before they interview? And should they scope out their interviewers in advance?
Yeah, definitely. It's a huge plus in your book, right? I think for us, if somebody's showing up to an interview and they're still not really sure, one of the first questions you can expect is, what do you know about RSM and why did you apply to this job? And your response is, why don't you tell me a little more about it? That's a big no-no. So do your research, know why you're applying to the job, what you're excited about, and then definitely about the firm as well. I've heard good feedback from my hiring managers too, that they thought it was impressive when the candidate was able to say, oh, I saw you went to X, Y, and Z school. I saw you studied this major. I saw your first job was at one place or another. It makes the interviewer really feel like you put some time and effort into this interview, and this is a really important opportunity for you that you're really excited about. So I would definitely say take some time. I've saw some data out there about how much time, and I think the average time was 30 minutes. I think the actual amount of time is going to vary by person and your starting point. If it's a company maybe that you know absolutely nothing about, maybe you're going to want to spend a little bit more time on it. But yeah, whatever you need to have a good understanding of who you're interviewing with, and why and what excites you about that firm.
I don't have much to add in terms of detail to what Deana said. Besides that, the one extra tidbit, do your research on the company. Absolutely. Do your research on what people think of the job you're applying to, what people are doing in the job right now. There's no such thing as too much information. But also be very aware of how much the company is telling you in your interview process as well. How much we or any other company describes themselves and what tasks you'll be doing. How many people they introduce to you through the process who are doing your job that you're applying to, and kind of use that as a baseline for whether or not you actually want that opportunity in the future. Because you can do as much research as you can yourselves, but if the company isn't putting their best effort into actually introducing you to the role, who knows what you're actually going to be doing when you get there. On the topic of researching the recruiters, it's a good idea, certainly something that you can do to establish a rapport. But I have a story about that. One time I was interviewing somebody who was a soccer player at, I believe, the University of North Carolina. And one thing that came up in the interview, I asked him a few things that he's not. And he said, I'm not fast. And I said, well, that's interesting. I thought you played soccer at the University of North Carolina. You would be pretty fast. And he said, well, I know you ran track at the Lafayette College, which I did. And I was a little surprised that he knew that about me. So do your research on the recruiter all that as much as you can. But you can kind of maybe keep a lid on everything in the interview. You might catch a recruiter off guard.
Yeah, those personal connections.
It was a funny interaction.
I love that. Those personal connections can definitely come in handy. So super quickly, I have two last questions about the interview process. So should you share in your interview process that you're in conversations with other companies too, or is it better to keep that to yourself? And how/when should you disclose this information if it becomes necessary?
I could jump in here. So I usually ask, and the reason why I ask is not to see like, who the competitors are, right? I ask because if you're applying for and interviewing for a technology risk consulting job with RSM, and then you tell me that you're also interviewing for investment banking roles and you're talking to all these like other very heavy financial type positions, I'm thinking to myself, okay, like this is completely different, right? But if you're applying and interviewing for similar jobs, I'm like, okay, this person actually has like, a career direction. And then I ask because I would like to know where you are in the process with those other companies so that I can do my best to expedite my process if we need to get you a decision sooner rather than later. So it's really helpful when we do know kind of what's going on and where you are in the process so that really more so to help you, right? To tailor our process as best we can so that you're getting information, you're getting through our process in a timely manner alongside as you're doing your other career search and your other interviews.
Yeah, I mean, one of the tragic things about some companies' processes is that you might get all the way to the final interview, and then they might not tell you that you don't have an opportunity. They might ghost you in a manner of speaking, and that's harsh. Epic doesn't do that, but we ask those questions to see where you are in other companies' processes, mainly to get an idea of how we should time ourselves. We're going to give ourselves, this is across the board at Epic, so I can say is after your final interview, we're going to give ourselves 2 weeks to make a decision, bar none. And if we take any longer, we'll let you know. But if sometime within those 2 weeks you have a hard deadline or something, we don't want to be caught with our offer before we give it to you. We want you to be able to see every opportunity available to you. So that's the reason we ask for that information. Also, frankly, through my recruiting process and a lot of other recruiters at Epic specifically, sometimes we ask for that because if you had some details you weren't sure about at other offers, we can let you know how they compare to Epic location wise, cost of living wise, et cetera, in the field and financial opportunities up in the future. That's why we ask for details on other offers, not because necessarily we're going to go and change our offer for that. It's just our recruiting process is a little personal, and we do care about our candidates on an individual basis. So we do want the best for you, but also we want you to be comfortable with whatever opportunity you get. Hopefully it's at Epic, but I'm doing a little bit of extension on this question, but we ask for details for actual reasons, not essentially for tracking numbers.
Love that. And last but not least, I wanted to ask just a quick question. Does a thank you note make a difference to interviewers? And if so, how quickly should you send one?
1000% and probably within 24 hours of the interview. In
Yeah.
fact, my hiring manager, I was in a debrief just Tuesday or Wednesday, and they were like, "Oh, that was the best candidate, but he didn't send a thank you letter. Is that too old school of me to say?" And the consensus in the room was no, right? It's a courtesy thing, and I think it's fallen to the wayside. So while things are evolving, you really have an opportunity to stand out by sending a simple thank you letter after the interview. And heck, guys, a thank you letter after a chat, meeting somebody in person, a campus event, it really goes a long way. Chivalry is not dead. I say send it.
Since I was little and I was applying to McDonald's and New Balance and all that, my dad made me send a thank you note to all employers because that's what he did for his job that he stayed at for 30 years at GlaxoSmithKline, and he said that's what got him the job. He still tells me that, even though I'm actually the other person in that scenario now. I'm the person he sent a thank you letter to. So that's always stayed very close to my heart because that's old dad's message. But the reason that I like it is because first off, it makes me feel really awesome that somebody took the time to thank me for my time, which doesn't always happen in the process when you're actually in the interview. You guys get nerves and the interview might end with thank you and I had a great time, but send that thank you note. One thing I always notice about the best thank you notes is a little note at the end of it that says, could you forward this or give my thanks to all the other interviewers in our process? Because it's not just me. There are a lot of partners at Epic who are in the roles that give their time to introducing roles to you. There's going to be your phone interview, the admin that helps you through the process before you get to me. There's a lot of people that I do forward that thank you message on to, and I do make a pretty good effort in actually doing that. One thing I would avoid that is kind of connected to that is asking for the contact information for everybody, because that is a lot harder for me than me just sending that thank you message along. But if you have that sentiment in there, that means a lot to me. I'm sure it means a lot to everybody I forwarded to as well.
I'm so glad to hear that these thank you notes are meaningful, because this is the number one tip that I give students. And it's great to hear this affirmed by two expert recruiters like yourself. And I also heard somewhere that only 25% of applicants will send a thank you note, like at best. So it definitely can make you stand out among the bunch. So I wanted to ask a quick question about offers and negotiation. So it's kind of a combined question. Can a job seeker negotiate a salary for their first job or internship offer? And then how quickly should a candidate make a decision about a job offer? And is it okay to take time and weigh options? And we'll go Deana and then Danny.
Yeah, so absolutely, you negotiate, right? I never accept the first offer I get in anything in life. So I strongly encourage you to guys to have a conversation, right? It's usually nerve-wracking the first time you do it. I remember the first time I did it myself. Um, but you really have to put your thoughts down on paper and have a reason, right? More so than just, I need more money because I should get more money, right? There's some sort of extenuating circumstance or some sort of value or special skill that you're bringing to the table, that's going to warrant, additional salary increase or compensation package. Again, do your research. I love when I get these like crazy outlandish requests, right? 30, 40 grand over the offer. So do your research and look at the market, but also look at the entry level salary, not the average salary, right? Because an entry level is very, very different than kind of an average, and even 1 to 2 years in the industry. So do your research, and keep in mind, guys, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So it doesn't hurt to ask, but be prepared that there's a number of firms out there that don't negotiate at the entry level, unless there's an extenuating circumstance. And then your second question was about timeline. I think this is dependent on the individual, right? Some people, they know that they want to be at this firm and they know that they want this job. And I have people that'll accept within 24 hours, right? This is what they wanted and they're so excited about it. And then, yeah, sure, there's other people that are still interviewing with other firms and they're taking some time to look through their offers. I will say, as you get older and you become a more experienced candidate, the time to make a decision actually becomes less and less. So enjoy the fact that a lot of offers usually get like 2 weeks. Sometimes, we'll even give up to a month for some of our candidates. So if you're still weighing options and looking things through, then by all means, take the time, do the research, ask to talk to other professionals within the firm, right? Again, you're not going to talk to them about offer details. That's directed to the recruiter, but you could talk to them about their journey, why they joined the firm, what resources they have available, and things like that. We're usually very, very eager to help you and provide you with any resources that you need as you make this really important decision.
Yeah, you should always ask about salary negotiations. It's your right. No one's ever going to whisk the offer away because you asked. It's something that is, as I said, the right for everybody. I would say upfront, because I represent Epic, is that we do not negotiate salary upfront for any entry level offer. We like to think that we make up for that with scheduled raises every year. The only thing that isn't scheduled about them is the amount they are. You get to earn your raise over here and no one gets the same one. That's every single year. You get a bonus with that too. But upfront, you should ask. The recruiter will probably nicely say no. But the more important part of this question, I think, is actually the timeline for your decision. It should be whenever you're comfortable with the decision. We don't want to take 9 months to figure out an offer that you'll be starting in 4 months, but you and the recruiter should be able to set a comfortable timeline. If you have a hard deadline in a week and the recruiter sets that, that's something to keep in mind, because I doubt many people would be comfortable, even if they were ready to make up their mind tomorrow, if they were given a week to make that decision. If you think in your heart of hearts that's the opportunity for you, then I mean, this should be an easy decision. But talk with your family, talk with other people, and set a nice timeline that the recruiter will oblige with at the end of the day. But I would call that a red flag if the recruiter doesn't take that into consideration. The company has their own policies on compensation and benefits and what we can do, but if the smallest thing that the company would not do for you is make a decision timeline that you can be satisfied with, then I guess you should think about that even more. Might even take more time.
For sure. It's great to hear your answers on this since I know this is a really hot issue right now. So now we're going to go into some rapid fire Q&A from our audience. So first, Dina, as I've seen a lot of jobs that are listed as entry level, but in the description, it could say something like 2 to 3 years minimum is required. Why do employers put this in the first place when they know that college students usually have little experience?
So, so keep in mind, guys, that not every company has a robust campus program, campus strategy like Epic and maybe RSM, right? So they may be looking to fill an associate role with anyone from entry level all the way up to 2 to 3 years of experience. So I would give a little bit of grace in that regard, right? I can say for a fact our campus level job descriptions do not have any sort of yearly experience number on it. So I would have a little grace there, and keep that in mind that simply might be the reason why. I wouldn't let it deter you from applying, right? I would still put my best foot forward. And then again, I would try to reach out to somebody in the firm, right? I saw this really cool opportunity. It says it's entry level, but it also mentioned 2 to 3 years. Do you have 20 minutes where I could talk to you a bit more about the opportunity and try to go that route?
Perfect. Thanks, Dina. Danny, next question. Students who study liberal arts have a hard time articulating the value of the degree to an employer. What would you say is the best way for a student to seal their degree or sell their degree to an employer and get chosen for an interview?
Oh man, well, I'm spoiled with that because my job out of college was Epic, and we look for people with liberal arts degrees, so they don't have to sell that. I'm one of those people with an English degree and a concentration in writing, working for the company that makes my chart, runs the hospitals in all the hospitals in the United States. Um, a lot of my answers are along the lines of go work for Epic, but go find a company where you don't have to sell it. That's kind of the big factor there. If you're really great at selling your degree and you can go work for one of the big four accounting firms with your liberal arts degree and you can make that happen, go do that. But you should find a place that doesn't make you work for that, because there's a very well kept secret in the role in life after college, where anyone with a degree from a great college should get a great job that they want to do. So
For sure.
whatever the subject of that degree, find somebody who believes in it.
For sure. Love that. All right, Dina, how much does age factor into getting an internship or entry level full-time role? We have some non-traditional students in the audience who started college as an older student.
Yeah, none, right? There's a such thing as age discrimination. We are very mindful of it. It
Yes.
will not come up at all in the application process, the interview process, none of it.
Okay, fantastic. That's really good to know. And Danny, question for you. How much does a student's minor matter in getting a job?
Oh, that's actually a really interesting question. It's always incredibly interesting to me to explore the minors with the candidates too. I didn't have a minor myself. I wonder how people find the time to do that. And that really is the crux of the value. Is like, how did you find the time to do that? It's always impressive to have something on top of your major. If you have a double major, even more so. If you have a double major and a minor, as I've seen most candidates honestly come through my desk for, that is incredibly impressive. So I'll go back to my original answer. The subject of it is not exactly the most important. It's that you had the time to find time to do something that you're really passionate about. I would say that that's what most minors are that I've seen. It's something biology and music, for example. If you were really passionate about music, you're taking those classes to kind of put your hobby down to credits use, which I certainly did with writing. It describes you more than it describes the degree that you're making, honestly.
For sure. And Danny, similarly, does the ranking of the school that you graduated from matter?
That's a great question. I would go against the actual definition of ranking here. Is like U.S. News and World Report ranking. Who knows? I assume that the question's said in the regard of the prestige of the school. Of course, it matters certainly if you go to the top school in the nation. That is very impressive. If you're not the top school in the nation, there's a long list of that. I would say that it's just you as a candidate when you get down to the interview process. It goes down to all the theme of all my answers here. If you are proud of yourself and have done the things that you're passionate about, sell those things. If you're proud of your school, sell that. If you're not, Don't sell that. Just go with the things that you are proud of. And that's where Epic's policy at the moment is that we hire smart new grads. We don't say smart new grads from the University of Notre Dame or Harvard or Princeton. It's smart new grads who put their minds to something for 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, 5 years, 6 years, and came out with what they decided to get. Good for you.
Absolutely. And I'll just add really quick, because I talk to a lot of students who have this question. At the end of the day, where you go to college genuinely normally doesn't have really much bearing on your potential, outside of just maybe the network that you have access to, but also you can make your own network. So don't let these kind of societal pressures get in your head. Just focus on you and what you can control. Deana, as a transfer student, should I include my transfer GPA on my resume if my transfer GPA is higher than my university GPA?
Sure. Again, this is a piece of paper that's the best representation of yourself, again, on paper, that's going to hopefully help you get a foot in the door. So yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. And another question for you, Deana, are social science majors such as sociology, history, etc., able to get jobs in the private/business sector, like as a consultant or data analyst?
It's tough, guys. It's tough, but it's not impossible. So if you are a psychology major and you're part of the consulting club and you did a certification in data analytics, sound qualified to me, right? If you're a sociology major and you haven't really done anything else and now you want to be a financial consultant, it's probably going to be a little bit more difficult to break into that. So I strongly encourage you to figure out what you want to do, but then set yourself up for success, right? Become a part of the right clubs, put a little bit of extra effort in, do some academic projects, some additional, like maybe national events and stuff. And a lot of schools and universities have support around this. So talking to your career services folks and your career advisor on campus can help you help yourself set yourself up for success, so that if that is what the goal is and you do have a major that doesn't align, you still end up being a viable candidate.
Absolutely.
Could I jump in on that question, Avalon?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just specific to Epic, or else I want to jump in on it. But if you apply it with a degree and a focus to the wrong role, as we say, a role that maybe at Epic wouldn't think that you have the base to succeed in. Let's say that you're an English major like me, and you might have applied to software developer, maybe by accident or maybe intentionally. Hey, maybe this could be an opportunity that I could do later on down the line. What the heck, I'll apply to it. This is also not a true story, by the way. I'm not saying that that's what happened. But Epic, the recruiting team, which is separate from the rest of Epic as a whole, the software development company, we will find the role that you're most applicable to. We'll find the role that you are actually going to succeed in to start at Epic. Transfers are what Epic is made of down the line. We're not going to reject you immediately. We're going to move you to something that you probably should be focusing on. So you can have confidence in that, is that once your application is found by Epic, we will move you on to something that you can succeed in.
Love that. Your major definitely isn't your end all be all. That's definitely where extracurricular experience, leadership experience, community activities, volunteering, all of that stuff, certifications all comes in. So these have been such fantastic answers. I myself have learned so much. And so thank you all again for joining us. Everyone, please join me in the chat to thank our speakers for sharing your insights and experiences. If you all have a moment, please take 30 seconds to fill out the feedback survey in the chat, and I'll hand it back over to Sunny.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining us. Please drop a thank you in the chat for our wonderful panelists, and follow Handshake on Instagram at Join Handshake for the recording today's webinar, and also more event announcements in the future. So that is all we have for you today. So thank you and have a great weekend.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. Aaron Gerbach.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
Bye, everyone.